Hello, welcome to the channel and thanks for watching, and it's time to do a little showcase and talk through of my Astra militarum army. Right, before we dig into the models and get a closer look, I thought I'd show you the box sets that I've put this little army together with and talk to you about why I've started an Astra militarum or Imperial Guard army. I shouldn't say started, I should say finished, because I don't intend for this project to go any further. It was completely unplanned. And I'll kind of tell you why I've done something, and I'm going to stick it to quite a small size. If you watch my channel, you'll know I tend to do big armies, and they'll escalate and they'll grow and evolve and end up as pretty big projects. This I don't intend to be the case, and it more than likely won't be. I was about to do a Space Marine army. I was halfway through my Hero Quest project, and if you follow me on Instagram and Facebook, you'll know that I then said, look, I bought some Space Marines. They're going to be coming up soon. I do have a Space Marine army that I started far too long ago, a couple of years ago, never really finished. It was just a bit of a fun event, and I was going to expand that, but I went to my friendly local gaming store in Grimsby. These were sat kind of on the counter because they've just been released. I think it might have been just before release actually, and they were demonstrating and just showing them off, and really it caught my eye. I've done Imperial Guard before, probably 18-19 years ago. Hadn't had any intention of doing the Astra Militarum Force. I'd seen they'd been released, and if I'm honest, I just thought they looked very, very similar to what had been done before, and they hadn't really done anything different. How wrong I was. Picked the box up, had a look, and realised that actually the troopers in here are quite dramatically different to the previous Cadians. Only very, very subtly though, but that's what I liked. I also like the fact that every single one of these is different. Every model in the set's different. You know me, if you watch the channel, you know I like converting, I like sculpting, I like doing weird things to it, and this felt like a box that actually I wouldn't have to do that. Then looked at the Sentinels and thought, that's a change, but not a dramatic change until you put two Sentinels next to each other. And I've got some footage of a recent gaming weekend I've done where I've got multiple different Sentinels next to each other. So again, check that out. Love the look of these artillery pieces, very World War I, World War II, and thought, yeah, okay, I'm picking that up and I'm abandoning my Marines for a while longer. Let's do some Guard. Took it home, pointed it up, tried to work out what I was going to do, and needed some extras. The first extras I actually got, was before pointing it up, was the upgrade sprue. Probably the other reason that I fell in love with this army and decided to do it. A box full of, you know, mechanical arms, jerry cans, extra pistols and daggers and legs, and oh, it's just fantastic. The exact sort of thing I love doing, and normally you'd have to do it as a kit bash or a conversion and put loads of work in. But you know, the chance to get gas mask heads, something we used to dream about years ago with the Guard army. And I do remember when I did Cadians getting the gas masks off the Kazakin, not that they were called that at the time, they were called just normal stormtroopers, I think, to put them on normal troopers. The fact you can get these heads to do it, brilliant, definitely bought in. I love the idea of tank crew and mechanics. So pointed it up and realised if I'm going to get a little 500 point force in, I need something extras, so I picked a couple of Sentinels. And that's really the core of force. Now, 500 point mini tournament, did that with a couple of mates a few weeks ago now, and that's what this army was geared up to be. So we'll now show you the full army. If I slide this very technical there. So it's my painting arch, Green Stuff World painting arch. If you're interested, at some point I'll do a review on that. This is where the camera normally goes, and we'll go there in a second. So this is the completed 500 point force. It is a small army, wasn't going to expand it any further, and it was a real interesting thing to do, a small project. Now, you will see on here stuff I don't traditionally do. I don't normally do glowing plasma. I don't really do the subtle highlighting pieces. I like things to be grim, dark and dirty. I wouldn't ordinarily do 3 or 4 different colours of hair in squads. So it's been a fun project for experimentation. So we'll get a bit of a closer look, and I'll talk you through the models and really explain what I was going for. I haven't built this for any tournament purpose. I've built it for rule of cool and just what I felt like as I'm going, and really thought I fancy doing some plasma glow experiments, hence the plasma guns in there. I wanted to make sure I had like one of each special weapon, so I've just literally got different special weapons in each squad, and just wanted to try something very, very different. But let's take a closer look. So let's start off talking about the command squad. It wasn't the first squad I built, but it's worth looking at. So the commander, really this is, I think, the greatest pose in the options you get. You get multiple options for every model about how you can pose it. So you can build multiple squads and have them not looking the same. You could build multiple command squads and have them not looking the same, which I really like. Helmet off, sword on hip, just a great pose, really enjoyed it. Went for the sergeant with the plasma because again I wanted to do more glowy plasma effects, not something I've really experimented with too much. All the kind of painting effects and things on this army, a lot of them's covered in the channel, so take a look at the Guard playlist that I will do at some point. Power Fist, one of those weapons you've got to have, just looks cool. So we did that, and then the three kind of optional characters we built. All of these you can build as normal troopers with plasma guns and weapons and things, but I wanted to go for the Voxcaster, the Banner Bearer, and the Medic, and just lovely poses. In the upgrade sprue that we bought, there are extra bits you can put on, but I just built them relatively standard, a couple of extra pieces on there, and I just think these are fantastic, evocative, characterful models. Really enjoy painting them, and just particularly strong. Now, the troops, the basic 10-man squads, I took two different options. So the first squad I decided to build and went with the theory of I want helmetless heads. So all these have got bare heads, all from the upgrade sprue, and I think these are a fantastic addition to the model ranges. So we have in here grenade launcher and a plasma gun. I built this squad more as a long-range firepower squad. So every weapon in here has got the same kind of firing range at 24 inches, longer range weaponry, so that the squad really can work together. I find if you're going to have a squad with longer range weapons and you put one flamer in it, one plasma gun, you're sort of splitting uses. And look, I'm not a tournament player, so you completely ignore me if my advice is completely wrong, but I just fancy doing it as a longer range squad, putting the bare heads on. Did some experiments with different hair colours. I've done a video on that as well, just different ways of doing hair. Not something I'd normally do, because normally I'd be bashing out, if I was doing a guard army, I'd be doing 2,000 points, I'd be bashing out 60 models, and you wouldn't necessarily want to experiment with like 4 or 5 different colours of hair, so I'd just done them all brown. But with a smaller project, what the fun was doing things I wouldn't ordinarily do that might add a little bit of time to the painting. If you watch the channel a lot, you know I go for fast, effective paint schemes, which this was primarily fast and effective, but with a couple of extra bits in that just add that little bit of time. So I enjoyed the squad, bareheaded. Also helps with squad recognition when you're playing games. You can't mix them up very easily because, you know, they've all got bare heads versus helmets. Second squad was the helmeted head squad, and I used again a few of the upgrades from the upgrade sprue. I've probably used less than 50% of the upgrades from the upgrade sprue and made them really visually different. So we've got the bionic arm on there on this sergeant. I also took a Sisters of Battle power sword on there. Not that you can have a power sword, you can have a chain sword, but I just thought, why not have a cool sword in a scabbard? Ruler cool, always wins. Axe, just thought was a great little add-on, so we'll stick that on there. And again, just scattering of the upgrades in here with, you know, an injured arm. And what I really liked on a lot of these, the upgrade sprues, you get little inquisitorial symbols, as though these had been taken off and, you know, sequestered into an inquisitorial force. Little touches like that, I think, is why this release is just one of the best releases Games Workshop has pulled in years. Carrying a jerry can, you know, subtle releases that don't scream at me, I'm a conversion, I'm this, I'm the other, but just mean that, you know, you could go on and build another 2, 3, 4, 5 squads of these and they would look different every time. Burnt flamer effect, recent video on that, and a couple of shorts. So, and then we've gone for melters. So with this squad, close range firepower, melter gun flamer, helmeted heads, gas masks, which I think look amazing. So that's the actual infantry dealt with. Now let's look at the supports. So I'll just show you one Sentinel. I've done 3, built them slightly differently. So in this case here, we've got the hunter-killer missile and then the jerry cans. And then I've put the hunter-killer missile on the other side, which will actually show you that, because someone did point out on the channels that put a hunter-killer missile there means the pilots can have difficulty getting out. But I like to think that, you know, they angle the weapon up, the pilot gets in, the commissar loads a missile on and says, "Do not come back, son," without firing that missile. So yeah, I just built 3 Sentinels. I thought a nice little troop to go together. For me, these are great models. I've got some footage from the gaming weekend that I had with a couple of mates with showing the Sentinels from the 1980s, the 1990s, the noughties, all the different varieties of Sentinels, and I think these are the best, and they are very, very much the biggest. So fun little unit, relatively effective in game, and just nice to be able to experiment with plasma glow and other things like that. Now we're going to finish off just with the last couple of pieces from the army. Now these are the ordnance teams, and I've built them with what they call the bombast field gun on here. So more your traditional kind of looking artillery. You do get the bits in the set to make the heavy las cannon, which actually probably game effective wise is really good, and the multi-barrel rocket launcher, which was, to be honest, what drew me to them in the first place. But then I decided against that. So very odd. That's what drew me into the models, but chose to do something different. What I like about these rules terms, I don't often talk about rules terms, but these you can shoot anywhere on the battlefield without line of sight, obviously within range. And I thought that was just a bit interesting. I also wanted to do something different. I've not really shown on the channel use of bandages too much. Some of the Necromunda videos I've shown that how you use bandages to do camo nets. It's something that I do on historical wargaming quite a lot from playing bolt action. You know, I'll show my cannons and my artillery with that, so that was a bit of fun just to try that one. So I built them both the same. You could very much magnetize the weapons in here if you wanted to do all the weapons and have options, but I just wanted to build these in this format, and I think they're lovely little bits of kit, and really quite enjoyed doing them. Haven't shown these on the channel in terms of painting them. Nothing different to the rest of the Acadians. If you've watched that, done a bit of bashed and battle damage on the metal. The troopers are painted exactly the same, but just some black detailing on the metal there. What I do like about these models though is they're not like normal Cadians, so they don't have the shoulder armour on there, so they're slightly thinned down. They've got like a wider, I don't know if the word would be gorget or something, around the neck, so the armour actually comes up the neck a little bit more, maybe for blast protection or whatever, and they've got a different raised kind of section at the back. So if I show you against just the sergeant here, look at the neck armour, very different on the back, different shoulder armour, slightly different chest. So that's a really nice touch by Games Workshop. I think historically they'd have just built them exactly the same, and it would have just been field Cadians in artillery gear. So really nice effect. Love the gloves that they have here. Actually, that's one thing I want to show. What I absolutely loved when building these models is the attention to detail of the plasma gunner. So the plasma gunner, look at that. She's got a leather glove there, sort of fingerless knuckle glove on that hand. But we know plasma guns have a tendency of overheating and hurting their operator. So they've given her a nice thick leather glove on the left hand. That's the sort of stuff that they would just not have done years ago. And I think a real attention to detail and really kind of clarifies why I think this Cadian release and the Astra Militarum release is one of the best in years. I was fished in to do an army that I hadn't planned, and I really enjoyed the project, and I think these models are fantastic. So that's kind of my thoughts really. That's all this was, a rambling video just showing you my guard army. There's lots of videos on the channel featuring these. I've got a couple more ideas for videos featuring the guards. I've took some footage from that gaming weekend I had with some friends with some Sentinels and things. So there's probably a little bit more on the channel being shown, but I will be moving on to other things. This was a fun little project just to finish at that kind of 500 point level. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, you enjoyed that ramble, like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz, and hopefully I'll see you on another video.